After 10 hours on the road exploring these beautiful landscapes, we get to our hotel for the evening and we open the door, and what I saw was troubling to say the least. You see, inside this compact room lay one bed, and at the door of said room stood 3 grown-ass men. Not how I imagined one of my nights in Iceland going. Welcome to Roaming, a new series on my channel where I bring you along my travels around the world as I look to capture my bucket list images. Whether it's portrait, fashion, or street photography, there is so much self-discovery to be had when you exercise your passion abroad. With this series, I hope to share the process, passion, and soul of that experience with you. In this episode, we fly to Iceland to take a road trip across the entire country in 1 week. This country has quickly exploded as one of the go-to destinations for creatives, and rightfully so. While so much of the landscape has been captured to death, our goal was to explore and document our trip as complete outsiders, experiencing something our ancestors never could. By late 2018, myself, my brother Nissan, and our mutual friend Viknesh had plenty of reps planning and producing creative projects. Each time we'd ask ourselves, how can we move the needle just a little bit more? How can we challenge ourselves in a new way? During a creative session that year, one of them, and I don't recall who, brought up this idea of doing a creative project overseas. Say less, fam. I'm a travel junkie, and the idea of traveling to a new country with creative friends to work on a new project, well, to me, this is the kind of thing that would exponentially further our shared growth. We mapped out a strategic plan, not just how we were going to capture and what we were going to document, but how we were going to fund this trip. So after a couple of months and a few additional gigs and some creative accounting, we secured our plane seats. The Banana Boys were headed to Iceland, and there was nothing that could stop us.
WOW Air, based in Iceland, unexpectedly shutting down last night.
Passengers expecting to board a flight on WOW Air had their flight abruptly canceled.
Today, the frustration boiled over at a lot of airports.
Okay, maybe one thing. Look, you don't get to decide the problems you run into, but you do get to decide how you react to them. And by shifting your reaction to put yourself in a position to move forward is a powerful way to, as an aggregate, have better problems. No matter what, we're gonna have obstacles in front of us, so why not have obstacles that you look forward to conquering? The sudden bankruptcy of our flight provider was just another obstacle, and at the root of this situation was a simple decision to be made by us. Are we going or not? And well, you know what happened.
My beauty, been all over the world. It's our first day here, so we thought we started real nice. Just take it super easy, super chill, get a massage in a blue lagoon. Why not? Why not? Let's go inside and see what this day is gonna look like.
After a business trip to Tokyo, and more on that later, we landed in Iceland and went over our itinerary. We decided to start with the desserts and go to the Blue Lagoon spa, enjoy that, and then begin our crawl around the island. Fun fact, we should have ended our trip at the spa. For this trip, I packed a few cameras to say the least. I had 2 X-T3s and an X-H1 from Fujifilm for video work on this trip. I had a Fujifilm GFX50R, this medium format monster, to capture these landscapes and these dynamic environments. I also had a Mavic 2 drone for, well, drone work. And I had a GoPro for whatever this is. Now, it was important for us to remember that this was a business trip. We went on this trip together to create content. And while we could have fun along the way, we couldn't lose sight of the fact that we were privileged to call this work. With that shared mindset, it was easy to squeeze productivity out of the day and take advantage of the opportunity from the moment we were awake. The day would start with us ingesting thousands of calories, as if we haven't seen food before. And then we would just traverse these amazing vistas well into the evening, where we would come back and just gorge some more. And let me tell you, you never get tired of the view. I do not enjoy landscape photography. Yeah, you heard that right. If I had to make a top 10 list of the genres of photography and the subgenres, I don't think landscape photography would even make it in my top 10. So why the f would we travel to what some may argue as one of the best destinations for landscape photography? What are you willing to do to get better at your craft? Through trials and tribulations, we may be fortunate enough to find these things that we truly enjoy in life. But upon finding these things, are we willing to relinquish them to truly test our perspective? How do I know I don't enjoy landscape photography? Did I really take the time to apply myself? As I get older, I start asking myself all these things that I held to be true about myself. Did I really take the time and effort to test them, to challenge them, and really open myself up to new experiences that historically I may have thought that weren't really something that I would resonate with? Beyond just photography, I believe this is something I need to do regularly to become the best version of myself. And going to a foreign country to try a genre of photography that I didn't think I enjoyed, well, it was more about growth than JPEGs, a test of grit over gratification, and an exercise in patience over payoffs. And this trip would solidify my belief in finding comfort in discomfort. What is known to us is comfortable, and what is unknown is an opportunity to learn. We have to be willing to venture into the unknown and experience discomfort in an effort to learn, to progress, to move forward. Finding comfort in discomfort means being able to see the unknown and look forward to the opportunity to learn. A chance that we might be able to become a better version of ourselves should we strategically navigate this moment. And since this trip, I've been saying it often: find comfort in discomfort. This country has been shot to death. It seems like every influencer, creator, Kardashian, and their grandma has been to Iceland and captured these iconic images. So it's easy to look at certain moments and feel discouraged. But you can't let yourself believe that. You have to be willing to create often. And creating in those times, well, it actually counts as double. And yes, you're keeping score. Going to the gym in the winter counts as double. Meditating when life is falling apart counts as double. And being able to create when your ego is telling you that you're a punk, for brains, good for nothing, fuckwad, on a stick, well, that counts as double too. Hyperbole aside, we all have that voice in our head that's just trying to protect us the only way it knows how. It's the primitive part of our brain that sits at the back, holds you tight and coddles you and tells you, no, don't get your feelings hurt. It's important to realize when this voice is talking and start a real dialogue with it. As the advanced creatures that we are, we need to leverage our frontal lobe and rationalize and negotiate with our ego and remind it that these concerns are not real. And in fact, there's a beautiful pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. In this moment, you say, hey ego, it's nice to hear from you, and listen, we're gonna do this whether you like it or not, but I promise, I'm not gonna let you get hurt. And in fact, I think you're really gonna enjoy what's about to happen. And this is the amount of self-talk that's going on in my head when I'm about to do something I don't wanna do, but ultimately I know is probably gonna be good for me. So when you know there's something that you should be doing and your ego's trying to talk you out of it, exercise, meditation, photography, close your eyes, take a moment, and let your ego know that it doesn't have a choice in the matter, but you'll make sure it doesn't get hurt in the end. traveling with friends is an interesting endeavor. Everyone has different ideas of what fun is, how we should spend our time, and where we should allocate our resources. To be honest, it can be challenging because we often might bite our tongue because we don't want to step on anyone's toes. Luckily, the Banana Boys have a perfect friendship and we don't experience any of these issues. Okay, that's a load of bullshit, because from the moment we linked up, we would be insulting each other, bickering over basketball, and even got into a wrestling match. I won.
So Nissan told me to shut up this morning. If you're a big brother and your little brother tells you to shut up, there's only one way to pay it back.
I gotta say, there's these special friendships that will last a lifetime because regardless of what happens, there's a foundation of purpose and common values that holds the structure together. It's not just because we like the same shit and live in the same city, it's because we navigate our shared space in a very similar way. That regardless of what is said and done, you start with trust, intention matters most, and there's always room for forgiveness. Building my YouTube channel and the Risky Fox Media Group with people that share that ideology, that's what allows us to not only have the successes that we do and as quickly as we did, but enjoy the process throughout. Going on a trip like this really felt like living out the 3 types of conflict in literature: man versus environment, and man versus self. And let me say, by no means was anything life-threatening, but there were several mental and physical points of exhaustion that provided these opportunities for inflection. Whether it was a 4-kilometer hike in icy winds to a plane crash, or fasting for 10 hours to complete the next leg of our journey, each day brought a new conflict. And if I'm being honest, this was the best part of the trip. It was like living out a video game where each day brought a new chance to level up and move to the next castle. And more than anything, it evolved my perspective on photography, not just landscape photography, but photography as a whole. Each image I was able to capture was preceded by this journey. So now when I look at images that, grab my attention, I'm more enamored by the journey to get there, the process to create this masterpiece in front of me. I started thinking about the work involved, the hours behind the process, the resources needed, and it also changed my relationship with social media and how I interpret the things that I'm viewing. Instead of endless scrolling, I moved to following accounts that only brought me joy and focused on going deeper with each image that I was looking at. And sometimes it takes a trip to shift your mentality in such a significant way. And listen, I understand the situation we're in and it's just not feasible for most people. So even if it's a road trip, traveling is just so fucking good for the soul. In a few of the talks that I've given in the past, I talk about this idea of swimming with sharks. And what I mean by that is if you really want to accelerate your growth and development, you gotta hang with the sharks. Those that are hungry and laser focused on moving forward in their craft. We are products of our environment, and when we surround ourselves with these goal-seeking missiles, we begin to integrate some of those best characteristics through this mental osmosis that helps us progress even further, faster. Look around you. How many passionate, driven, hungry sharks do you see? If you want to hit your milestones faster, get out of the pool and swim with the sharks. We're all susceptible to this idea that we need physical things to move on to that next stage in life, whether it's money, tools, or resources. It's critical to find faith in that surrounding ourselves with the best people, those that share our belief in moving forward, no matter how long it takes, is what will ultimately lead us to a path of true growth and fulfillment. More than anything, we have to realize there is no permanence to any physical item we place value on. Yet we succumb to this idea that the next physical object we stand to acquire will please our soul. And especially in these times, we have to move away from that. There is no permanence to any of these things, and as any ancient philosopher will tell you, that greed is a bottomless void that you can never fill. If we can believe that and build a new form of richness that looks to build wealth from within, wouldn't that be a remarkable thing? That the things we value most are not what we bought, but what we've done. That fulfillment comes from action and forward momentum. Just like you, I have no idea how the world is gonna shake out. And anyone that tells you that they do, well, they're just a liar playing the lotto. What I do know though is regardless of the externalities, I look forward to what's ahead. I will look forward to more adventures with friends. I look forward to more frostbites just to get the shot. And I look forward to coming out the other side. Because even though we don't know what's on the other side of the next struggle, I'd venture to argue that it's better than where we're at now. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Roaming. We're already halfway through our first season and actively planning the next season. So if you think there's a place that we should visit for season 2, let me know in the comments below. And more than anything, I am having an absolute blast putting this together. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching.